Fifth row of the grid. It's a long way from where pole sitter Michael Rutter is. Behind me on 17th, John Reynolds, and in 19th place, the veteran of over 180 Grand Prix, Jeremy McWilliams. But joining me, I'm sorry to say, because it means he's still injured, is James Hayden. James, what's going on with these guys back here? I mean, at least JR's got his excuses.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. JR had a badly broken leg, so he's just doing fantastic just to be out here and riding, and just shows out the grit and determination he's got. Yeah, I mean, Jeremy's, I think, obviously, I don't know exactly what his problems are, but he'll be disappointed to be back here, and he's got a lot of work to do, so he's going to need a really good start.
Is this a difficult track to learn?
It is. It's kind of, I don't know, it's quite easy once you get used to it. I mean, it's very fast, but the racing's always really tight here, and I think that it tends to bunch everyone up when these fast circuits, so normally we do have a really good race here.
Of course, John will be feeling quite vulnerable because he'll have memories from last year when Lavia took him out and he broke his collarbone.
Yeah, and this is where a lot of action will be going on. It's always a great passing place. There's a lot going on, and as you're right, JR, he just can't afford to have any little incident right now. So, yeah, fingers crossed.
Well, we're going to take a walk forward. We're actually going to walk along and see the guy who's standing in for you at the moment, James Gregorio Lavia. Tell us what the situation is. When will you be back?
Yeah, well, I've been past fit, declared fit, so which is great news. So I'm going to be back for Mallory Park, which is superb. So just can't wait to get back on my airways to Gatti and get out and get racing again. So it feels like it's been too long.
Is it good for you, or is it a painful reminder when Lavia is doing so well at Brands Hatch?
Yeah, I mean, it is hard. Obviously I want to be riding, but I wish my team very well, and I wish the whole Airways Ducati team well. So it's kind of one of those mixed feelings, really. But at the end of the day, I'll be back out at Mallory, and I'll just forget this part of the season for me.
Great, James. Thanks very much for the moment. We'll be speaking to James later on. Let's walk forward and grab a word with Sean Emmett. He's just right behind us. Sean, quick word. How are you feeling?
Yeah, a bit sore, but should be okay.
Mixed fortunes here last year. This bike should be good round here.
Yeah, it seems to be working pretty good. I think it's going to come down to the tyres. The Hondas are on Michelin, everyone else on Dunlop, so they might have an edge or a disadvantage. Who knows? We'll see sort of half race distance, but yeah, just try and get in there and hang in there.
You were sore at Brands because you'd hurt your elbow. What's wrong this time?
Well, it's still the same elbow, got infected, and it's just full of pus and horrible stuff like that, so just a bit uncomfortable, but we'll get through it.
Okay, thanks very much. No waving today. Let's have a quick word with Leon Haslam. Leon, back in the front row of the grid.
Yeah, happy to be here again on the front row. Was pole position at Brands, but obviously made that mistake on the first lap, so just basically need to be a bit more cautious on the first few laps, and hopefully we'll be there at the end again.
You had another spill yesterday. How's your wrist feeling?
Actually, I managed to get away from the crash without hitting my wrist that I did at Brands, but I just took a little bit of skin off the other hand, so it's not too bad. And like I say, that was in the morning, and we still went pretty good in the afternoon. So
Airwaves not great luck with hands at the moment.
No, the Airwaves is going good at the minute, and I just can't wait to get out there.
Okay, thanks very much for the moment. Let's walk round and see if we can grab a quick word with Michael Rutter, pole sitter. Very quickly, Michael, how are you feeling?
Yeah, good. I'll be glad when this one's over. It's going to be an hard one, and the Honda's working well though, and I think I've got a big watch out for my teammate.
You won here last year. Is this a track you like?
Yeah, I do. I do enjoy it. Yeah, just need to get a win here. It's most important, to see what we can do.
Your eyes on the Audi Quattro prize. That should have been yours last year.
I've got a wheel at the moment, so I'm doing all right.
Okay, thanks very much, Michael. Let's just take a look. We have Chianari, who's behind me. He had a fall yesterday, which meant that his ankle was very badly swollen. I know he was at the medical centre for a while. It's heavily strapped. Behind him is Tommy Hill, who's made a good start. And over in fourth, we have Carl Harris having his first front row of the season so far, and the first front row of his British Superbike.
I think he got caught in the back foot with his teammate Ryuichi Chianari at Brands. He didn't like that at all. He was expected to be the man that did the winning at Brands, and it was his teammate.
Who's going to make the whole shot? That's Carl Harris, closest to the camera. He gets a good start indeed, but if anything, Rutter just got bogged down very slightly. But is it his teammate that's come through? No, it's his Sean Emmett on the Big Bang Virgin Mobile Yamaha. Well, he will just be looking for that kind of result, won't he? So Emmett has gone through Allard corner now, down towards the complex. Really tricky here. Campbell is the right-hander. Then on to Cobb almost immediately. Difficult left-hand side of the turn. Left-hand turns here are real tricky. It's caught out, well, virtually hundreds of riders over the 3 days that we've been here so far. So up through Noble it is. Seagrave and then on to Noble. We're at Noble now.
tricky fast left-hander in the first lap, left-hand side of the tyre, not very warm. A lot of riders went down there in practice, but certainly the front bunch safely through Noble.
Right-hander of Village, moving through Goodwood onto Village, and then it's the frightening Church Corner where it all counts. We're building to that turn now. Church Corner next up then. Absolutely just trying to get on the gas as early as they can over the bumps. Look at that. I'll tell you what, that Yamaha sits just lovely. Big question here for you, Neil. Dunlop versus Michelin. It's never been more acute than it is. As Carl Harris slots in the third place now. Carl Harris has split the HM plant bikes. And look at Carl Harris round the outside. Does he go round the outside?
He does.
And he goes round the outside of Rutter.
Carl Harris loves Thruxton. Oh. He loves that Honda Fireblade. He loves a bit of power now. It's been long overdue to see Carl Harris on a Superbike. He's been flying all week on the Dunlops.
First he did Keogh, then he did Rutter. Now he's in second place and chasing Sean Emmett on the Virgin Mobile Yamaha. Wow, what an upset. Oh, that's one of the Eddie Stobbart team, and that looks like McWilliams. Is it McWilliams? It is Jeremy McWilliams. Didn't quite recognise his... well, that's a chicane shenanigans, isn't it? It looks like he's been tripped at the chicane.
Frustration continues for Paul Bird and the Stobbart team and Jeremy McWilliams.
Well, he was from so far back, really. He'd got such a lot of work to do from where McWilliams had qualified, back on the 5th row in 19th place. So McWilliams obviously trying to make up some kind of ground and found him laying on the ground. Emmett, Harris and Rutter, there it goes. Haslam Smart and Kieran Clark.
Sean Emmett there on the Virgin Yamaha. He's got half a second, which is unheard of really in the opening lap. So we know Sean Emmett is really good at Thruxton. We know he won last year, and we know that Yamaha is working really well, running the big bang engine, real smooth power delivery, and looks exceptionally good out of the last corner. Look at these 3 Hondas behind them.
All slipstreaming each other, and through goes Rutter, but straight away Carl Harris has the bike back on the brakes. Is he going to try and cut to the inside? He looks very confident the way he's riding, and Carl Harris looks like that bike's right with him.
Carl Harris loves Thruxton. He's been the master of super sport races. He got to the front and controlled it from the front. He's always went really well at Thruxton.
Almost ignoring the Hawk Kawasaki of Glenn Richards, who is there in, what, 5th place at the moment. So keep an eye on Glenn Richards. He's being closely followed through by Dean Thomas, his teammate. So Richards and Thomas, I expected it from Glenn Richards, but I've got to say, Dean Thomas, that's a good result if he can really carry that forward. Look at Carl Harris in the middle of the complex there, being ridden all over by Chianari, but he don't care because he's blocking the middle of the track. So it is still Emmett that has now been caught by Rutter.
Watching Carl Harris in practice, he was flying, but he was also very hard on his rear tyre. He was one of the Dunlop runners that was moving around a great deal. And watching the 2 Michelin guys who he sandwiched in between, they were a lot smoother and looked like they were getting a lot more traction. But Sean Emmett out in front there, carrying a serious arm injury still, but at the moment managing to hold his own.
Well, I spoke to Phil Plater from Dunlop just a little bit earlier before we came on air. He said that he'd run the main runners on the race distance and was happy enough with the race tyre. But it's going to be about the Michelins. What have they got here at Thruxton? It's their 2nd year of running, as round the outside of Brooklands comes Chianari. But Harris, well, he's lively on the brakes. And I'll tell you what, that's what tripped up John Reynolds last year when Lavia picked up in the middle there. And Carl Harris almost found himself in a similar position to John Reynolds, but without the pain.
Chianari got a brilliant drive out of Church there. You could see whether it was grip or whether it was corner speed, but really good drive on Carl Harris. That allowed him to slipstream him and slip past them into the chicane.
Well, I'll tell you what, fastest laps are being swapped hand over fist here at the moment. Leon Haslam had it a moment ago on the Airways Ducati, and it's now been taken by his teammate, Gregorio Lavia. 1 minute 16.292.
Oh, Sean Emmett having a look around. I'm not sure there's any time for that, Sean.
Well, he is actually renowned for that here at Thruxton, isn't he?
Yeah, the chances are when you look round, someone passes you at the next corner, and Michael Rutter is certainly closer.
Well, Rutter is right on his case. Let's take a look and see. I mean, you're the expert for this. See how these tyres are hooking up through these fast points. Really, it is. Well, I'll tell you what, he was quick through that right-hander. He's really dragged down a few yards on Rutter.
He was quick in the first section. On the first section time, all the way through practice, he's been really quick. But what I have noticed, I've studied the lap by lap times of all the riders, certainly all the top 10 riders, and the 2 Michelin guys were the 2 riders that could go the fastest and do the most consistent lap times on race rubber.
Well, the significance to me is that within 0.3 of a second are the top 7 riders.
And how did Chianari do that?
Dear me, straight in there.
2 in 1 corner. That was impressive.
But look at the rest. They're all there. So clearly the pace is not the pace that a lot of them want to actually run. Steve Hislop, the late, great Steve Hislop, holds that record here. 1 minute 15.8.
Chianari, 3rd down the outside into the chicane, past Rutter, alongside Emmett, the long way around as well, and still pulled it back. He galloped him half a second by the exit of the chicane.
He just has such an incredible natural talent, Chianari.
He's just so happy on that bike. That bike, he can do absolutely anything with. You can see him changing lines, fast sections, slow sections. He is in control.
1:16.578 was Chianari's last lap. Lavia still holds the quicker lap, 1:15.699. Chianari, Emmett, Rutter. That's how it looks at the moment, the top three, but don't expect it to be the same by the time we get to the end of this lap, because certainly Rutter now is looking at Emmett. But I'm watching the Carl Harris number 9 bike with the 75 green Kawasaki of Glenn Richards. Then it's Leon Haslam who split the two Hawk Kawasaki's from the 91 Leon Haslam. Then it's 12 Dean Thomas. Then it's Lavia in 8th place on the 35 bike.
Ryuichi Chianari had a massive practice crash towards the end of qualifying yesterday. He was hobbling around last night. He's got a temporary cast on his leg, but it's not slowing him down one iota.
No, not one iota, that's for sure. And this kind of break he needs early on in this race as well. 37, Danny Beaumont, one of the top Superbike Cup runners this weekend in qualifying, has retired to the pits. Ryder is okay, but for those of you that care about the Superbike Cup, at the moment it's James Buckingham on the Key Motorcycles bike that is in 10th place overall, which is unbelievably superb. And he is also the well and truly leading Martin Nutt is the second Cup rider, and he's back in 20th place. So James Buckingham at the moment has 10 places advantage over the other Superbike Cup contender, Martin Nutt from Northern Ireland.
I'll tell you what, Glenn Richards, number 75 here in the Hawk Kawasaki, he's doing a good job. Up to 4th position, he's past Carl Harris, and he's chasing Sean Emmett.
Glenn Richards around Thruxton, I remember him before he broke his arm here. I mean, he really did look good before. If you remember on the slow Kawasaki.
750 Kawasaki, he was unbelievable. He was an absolute menace to all the guys with more horsepower. Carl Harris moving around there.
Yeah, you were right about that rear end. Carl Harris really working the rear of that motorcycle at the moment. That will be spinning and putting wear on the tyre and heat in the tyre. And Carl Harris will be struggling with that in a lap or two.
Well, it's not a problem for Carl. The only problem is that he will be really hard on the rear tyre. Tyre temperatures are really high here, and Carl's giving them a lot of abuse.
Look at Haslam.
Yeah.
Going out to the car park.
And his teammate underneath him.
Gregorio Lavia gets through then. The Airwaves Ducati swap places behind the number 9 by Carl Harris. The red, yellow and white motorcycle is now right under Glenn, and that is a scary corner to do anything on.
There's no runoff there. There's no room for error there.
Not that they'll be thinking about runoff, because they all believe they can stay on it. But look at Gregorio Lavia into the complex. He's going to be out the other side of Carl Harris for sure.
Wow. Not quite close enough. Carl could see him there in his peripheral and just let the brakes off a little bit, just blocking him for another couple of corners.
Lavia, very unlucky indeed on his out lap for his quick qualifying time yesterday, went and dumped it at the chicane. And for those of you who know Thruxton, that is the very last corner on his out lap. So he was just about to wind the wick up and come onto his flying lap, and dumped it on the floor and didn't get a quick lap in, and therefore is penalised by starting on the second row of the grid, when we did expect him to be able to bump up onto the front row along with his teammate Leon Haslam.
Scott Smart on the Suzuki there, bringing up the rear. He didn't make a very good start, but he's hanging on grimly to Dean Thomas there, down in 9th position at the moment. But you know, at Thruxton, anything can happen, and there's no reason why Scott Smart can't make a bit of progress and get a bit closer to the rostrum.
Well, we are, of course, only 1/3 distance at the moment. We're on lap 7 of the 22, and
there
again,
goes Carl.
Harris, look, he just loves this. The front end of that motorcycle, he's got working so well. He's so confident, sticking all the weight on it, isn't he? And rushing in.
Got no problem. You can see him in the early laps round the outside. But look at Gregorio.
Oh, yes.
Glenn Richards has one moment, loses 2 places. Yeah, 3 places.
3 places, because his teammate Dean Thomas, I think, has gone under him as well now. We're on lap 8. Wow, Carl Harris pretty much caused that, I feel. He got himself in the middle of that turn. And
well, anything goes at the chicane.
Yeah, and that's what chicanes are for.
There goes Gregorio this time. He's made it stick with Carl Harris.
Tell you what.
He's good.
They have got such a dilemma at the moment at the Airwave Ducati team. James Hayden is here, still deemed by the team to be unfit at the moment, and he wanted to ride, but he has been passed as unfit. Well, that's a contradiction in terms. He has been said that he is unfit by the team, so they've allowed Lavia here again, and really it's a dilemma for the team. I've been told by Colin Wright all 3 riders will be retained for the rest of the year. Wow. What that quite means is it's slightly complicated, because he didn't tell me they were going to run 3 motorcycles.
Well, I'd like to see where they get another 2 World Championship winning Ducatis.
I think my point is that they are going to retain the 3 riders, but who is actually going to be riding the bikes is still up for discussion at the moment.
Here comes his teammate Pascal.
Yeah, Carl Harris, once that tyre's gone for Carl Harris, he can't do anything with it, can he? He can't get onto that straight quick enough.
It doesn't matter how skillful you are, how talented you are. When you've got no grip, you're not going forward.
Well, Lavia still has the fastest lap at the moment. Number 49 has just come down pit lane and retired.
Lavia is closer to Sean Emmett. Sean Emmett still in third position on that R1 Virgin Yamaha. There he goes, he's good into the complex.
Very.
Not quite close enough because Sean's also pretty handy in there.
It's that run through Allard that I think is scary, that left hand. I mean, that's where a lot of the riders have gone down. They stick it on the left-hand side of the on the tyre, and the track here has been so cold over these 3 days that they've got no heat in the left-hand side of the tyres, and down they go. And it's fourth coming on fifth gear there, which is not hanging about on the Superbike.
It's not hanging about if you go off onto the grass, that's for sure.
Richard Wren, of course, had a fall and he's out of the race today. If you're looking for the R6 Cup qualifier from last year in the Superbike, he's out. Just banged himself on the head, and the medics have said that he must take no further part in the meeting. So Richard Wren is watching the Virgin Mobile team at the moment. He'll be cheering on Emmett in third place, that's for sure. Still Sean Emmett, bike number 5 in third place. Still Kieran leading from Rutter.
Lavia got a nice drive out of there. A bit of a wobble in the exit of Church, but it was enough to get in Sean Emmett. Slipstream, here comes Carl Harris round the outside again.
So Emmett goes back 2 places, and Carl Harris really sits on Emmett, but Emmett's not having any of it. He's toughed it right out. So Emmett slips to 4th place. Lavia moves up to 3rd place. That is again another remarkable ride. I have to say, you had to give the Bennett's Rider of the Day to Kianari at Brands Hatch, but already I can feel my hand on your arm regarding this ride from Lavia.
Get off.
I know I don't have to persuade you. You're going to pick the right man, but you've got to say at the moment, Lavia coming through from what wasn't a particularly good start off the 2nd row. He's looking a bit of a hero.
He certainly has. He's got past Sean Emmett now. He's on the rostrum if he finishes there, but he hasn't given up chasing Michael Rutter. And look at the gap he's put between himself and Sean Emmett, number 5, just after a few corners.
Not even half distance yet, of course. Of course, again, looking at the tyre situation, Lavia on Dunlops, but of course the Ducati works a tyre completely different from the 4-cylinder motorcycles. And then, of course, we've got the Yamaha, which is a completely different type of 4-cylinder motorcycle. Firing order's been changed completely, and the one that Sean Emmett is on right now delivers the power different to any other Yamaha, apart from another Virgin Mobile one.
Yeah, if you haven't heard these bikes, you sit at home and you haven't heard the R1 Yamahas this year, they sound just like Ducatis, and that's the whole reason they're using that big bang configuration engine to deliver the power more smoothly, and it seems like it's working.
James Buckingham on bike 56 still leads the privateers by an absolute mile. He's having a hell of a ride here. James Buckingham, bike 56, if we ever get a chance to see him, it is a superb ride from him. He's on the key garage Suzuki. And
just
really,
look at the riders behind him.
Yeah, indeed. Tommy Hill, Gary Mason, Michael Laverty, Steve Plater, John Reynolds, John McGuinness, just to mention a few.
Ben Wilson there, he's in 17th under Vivaldi Kawasaki. Much better showing because he really was struggling in practice. So, right, good to see Ben Wilson. He was way down the leaderboard all the way through practice.
We'll be enjoying our spuds a little bit later, won't we, Spud?
With no butter, because apparently Vivaldi potatoes don't need any butter, so we'll test them out just a little while.
Can't wait. Lap 11 of 22. We're on the halfway stage of this race at the moment. Kianari leads by 0.7 of a second from his teammate on the HM Plant Honda, Michael Rutter, bike number 2. Then it is the Airwaves, the Wrigley's Airwaves Ducati, bike 36, Gregorio Lavia, having fought his way through from something like 10th place in the opening lap from Carl Harris on the HondaRacing.co.uk bike number 9 in 4th place. 5th place is the Virgin Mobile Yamaha of Sean Emmett. 6th place, the 91 bike, that's Haslam. He is the teammate to Gregorio Lavia, of course. Glenn Richards has slipped now on the 75 bike to 7th place. Dean Thomas's teammate is in 8th place. They're the Hawk Kawasaki's. Then it's Scott Smart, the first of the Rizzler Suzuki's, in 9th place. 10th is Kieran Clark on the Hydrex Honda, which I'm real pleased to see Kieran going good as well in 10th place. And then, of course, we've got James Buckingham on the Key Suzuki. That's the best of our privateers in the Superbike Cup Series, but he has, well, in fact, he's just slipped to 11th place now, I think, Buckingham.
Michael Rutter took 0.2 of a second out of Ryuichi Kianari on that last lap, so he's making progress. He's got him fixed as a target. He's chasing him. It's always easier chasing, but Kianari, number 6, doing an incredible job. Only his 2nd time at Thruxton.
Well, we've talked about teammates in the past. We differ very slightly on our viewpoints of them. These two, of course, well, they worked together quite well last year, but that was when Kianari perhaps wasn't quite the threat to the championship as Michael Rutter would view him as right now. Rutter cannot mess about. He will have been disappointed with the fact that it was his teammate Kianari who won both the opening races at Brands Hatch. But here at Thruxton, you have to say, with the form of Kianari from last year, he didn't like it here. Had a torrid time. I think his best result was 8th place. He's come back this year completely revitalised. And at the moment, unless Rutter is going to have an exceptional result, and I have to say my money was on Rutter for here, maybe that's what's done it.
the jinx, the Ewan jinx. Chianari carrying an injury, it doesn't seem to be affecting him. His lap times are consistent, looks good on the bike, he's throwing that bike around, having no problems whatsoever.
I love that bit out of the chicane. You watch Keogh, he just stands it up and fires it out of there, doesn't he? I mean, it is in a fantastic way. He's got that bike to hook up.
His bike on these Michelins looks more stable out of there than Michael Rutter. Michael Rutter gets on the throttle area, seems to be carrying more RPM, and his bike is more unstable and spinning the rear up, but Chianari does look good. He grabbed back 0.2 of a second on that last lap, so Chianari's responding to Michael Rutter's challenge.
Still Lavia, the fastest man out on the track on lap 4 though. Gregorio Lavia on his march to the front. Hopefully, and he'll be hoping this, he hasn't cooked his tyres as far as that march to the front is concerned, but it looks like it's over at the moment. 5.8 seconds he is behind the leader, 5.1 seconds behind Michael Rutter. That's a big deal as far as he's concerned, and the gap between Chianari and Rutter, I don't know if you mentioned this, I feel like a bit of deja vu, he's gone back up to 7/10 of a second.
Yeah. I wouldn't say Gregorio Lavia has cooked his tyres, I would just say these Michelins look like they have more traction, they have more grip. Of course, the HM Plant Honda's working really well, brilliant winter's testing, really up to speed. They are the benchmark for everyone else, but Gregorio, lap times are consistent, but they're not as quick as the two front guys.
But they got away fairly cleanly at the front, and I think Gregorio, even if he has got the best tyres still working, and there's nothing to say that Dunlop aren't as good as Michelin at this point, but the fact of the matter is that these two got away cleanly at the front, and he's had to work the hardest to get up behind them.
Point taken, he was sticking in fast laps in the early part of the race, and that is extra pressure on the tyres.
Chianari and Rutter out front then. Lavia still third. Haslam, his teammate, now fourth. So Leon Haslam, son of Rocket, is there on bike 91. He's in fourth place at the moment. So that's a great result for... Oh, I've got a brace of Stobbard Hondas, or the two that are left out there anyway. 3 is Gary Mason. 33 is Michael Laverty. So the two youngsters in the team. Michael Laverty have gone... Oh, who was that out of his seat?
Reynolds at the back of this bunch as well. John Reynolds hanging on in there, and 60s desperately trying to score a few points, but at the moment just one place away from the points.
Steve Plater that was, that had that lit up right in front of John Reynolds. Reynolds will not appreciate that, because the last thing John Reynolds needs is to be grass tracking at somewhere as fast as Thruxton.
He hasn't enjoyed this weekend at all. He says saw a lot of riders going down just because of gusty winds, and it really spooked him. It's much more difficult for him here at Thruxton. The fast changes of direction are not good for that broken right leg.
77 has retired to the pits. That's Marty Nutt, another Northern Ireland one, and on the Honda. So Marty Nutt on the Fireblade Honda, looking good in the Superbike Cup. In fact, he was second in that just a little bit earlier on. He's now retired. So Marty Nutt out of the race. We're watching Reynolds behind Steve Plater. Some famous names in British Superbikes, a long way down the order.
Sean Emmett there.
Sorry?
Sean Emmett there, back in touch with Lavia.
Well,
with Haslam.
Yeah,
so beg your pardon.
Let me go.
Anyways, the Catties looking too alike at the moment.
Yeah, look good though. It's good. Well, welcome back to Darryl Healy and the team. We said it at Brands, but really GSE and their new title sponsors, Wrigley's Airwaves, are a welcome addition back to the British paddock. Leon Haslam, I can't believe how vastly experienced a 22-year-old is. He really has been there, done that. In a bit of trouble though, with a bit of grip at the rear end, Leon Haslam, by the look at that, as Emmett lines him up.
Yeah, Leon Haslam raced in every class in GPs, lots of experience, World Superbike last year, but for once he stayed in the same bike for a few years. He's on the 999 Ducati as he was last year with the Renegade team, and looking good. Not a brilliant start, but he's making his way through there.
Now he does look to me like he has done something with his rear tyre, because I don't know whether he's running the same as Gregorio Lavia, but he looks to be in a little bit of trouble trying to lay that power down.
You can see when he opens the throttle there, the rear end of the bike squatting, then the tyre lets go, and then it's all out of shape. But at the moment, holding his own in front of Sean Emmett.
Well, the remarkable thing for me about... Oh, Sean Emmett gets in a little bit dribbly.
Well, you know,
down.
Leon went in there wide, and you just automatically follow the guy in front. That's exactly what happened. But Carl Harris was the one that gained out of that situation.
The remarkable thing for me, as I was about to say, the Virgin Mobile Big Bang motor. Now, usually there's a little bit of a trade-off a little bit, I would have said, with top-end power as far as that Big Bang's concerned, once you start altering the firing of the motor. But Rob Mack said to me weeks ago that he was confident that it hadn't knocked any top end off it, and clearly here, I mean, you don't get any faster than Thruxton.
It certainly looks that way. Top speeds have been really good for number 5 Sean Emmett on that Virgin R1 Yamaha. No problems at all with the top end speed, and they've got the best of both roads now. They've got nice smooth drive off the turns.
Well, if you were wondering where Ryoichi Chianari had gone, I can tell you so's everybody else. Ryoichi Chianari, bike number 6, 3.3 seconds leading now. Sorry if I panicked you at home. 3.3 seconds leading from Michael Rutter in second place, who has a 4.9 second lead over Lavia. Lavia is closing in on Michael Rutter. We still have quite a lot of laps left to go, but I really don't believe it's going to be enough even for Lavia to split the two HM Plant Hondas at the moment, unless of course they make a mistake. Haslam is still there in 4th place, Emmett 5th, Harris in 6th place, 7th is Dean Thomas now, who's moved up in front of his teammate Glenn Richards, who is slipped behind Scott Smart, who's 8th at the moment.
Yeah, looking good on the brakes there on the Rizzler Suzuki into the chicane. Glenn Richards made a brilliant start, obviously got tyre trouble or bike trouble, and he's going backwards at the moment, but Scott Smart making steady progress and finally got up to 8th position. It's not out of the question to make a bit more progress, but it's looking pretty tough.
Scott Smart is of course the thinking girl's totty. At the end of the day, he...
Is he?
Well, apparently. But
Did he say that?
fact of the matter is, he is a smart by name, a smart by nature kind of fella. He works very, very steadily at getting his motorcycle better and better and better. And of course, this is a brand new team for him. He's got to work in a brand new regime, and he's, I think, been used to having technically allowed more input into the Hawk Kawasaki when he rode for them than perhaps he will be allowed at Rizzler Suzuki.
It is a transition period for Scott Smart in the Rizzler Suzuki team. There's an expert in every field in that team, whereas before Scott was used to solving his own problems, and it's gradually gelling. The team's coming together. It's all new for a lot of new team members, but he'll make progress, and as you say, he's an intelligent guy and he's understanding how the team works and how the bike works, and he'll get there eventually. He's not a million miles away now.
Well, he's closing in, there's no doubt about it, on the man in front, which is Dean Thomas on bike number 12. Oh, Sean Emmett slips one up the inside. Thank you very much, I'll take that. And Leon Haslam not moved offline by too much. It was just a nice move from Sean Emmett. So Emmett gets a Virgin Mobile Yamaha in there. And, well, Emmett moves up a place into 4th place. Still won't be what he wants here, though.
No,
he's going to be really
sneaky little manoeuvre there, but it was a clean manoeuvre. I mean, Sean Emmett doesn't mind a dirty manoeuvre at the same time, but that particular pass was okay. Leon Haslam, you could see him exiting the chicane, spinning up that 999 Ducati.
I've got a lot of time for Sean Emmett, and I know I bang on about him being bad boy as we did at the top of the show and so on and so forth, but really, he's 30, he must be 34 years old now, Sean. I haven't got the paperwork in front of me. You tend to give up after they get past 30 on caring how old they are, but he can ride a motorcycle. He's got a tremendous amount of talent. Last year didn't quite get on with his team boss Paul Byrne, and the Ducati was sometimes good, sometimes not so good for him last year. Here, incidentally, it was brilliant for him. He rode, apart from the faux pas he made in race 1, he rode brilliantly. You've got to say that this year his focus is superb. He's shaved his hair off. He looks aggressive off the track. He doesn't seem to be as distracted by things outside of racing at the moment.
I think he's more settled in the team. He gets on with Rob Mack and the team staff, and he's actually lifted the Virgin Yamaha team. They're a lot happier. A little bit wide there into chicane. Colin Wright, Airwaves, Ducati team manager.
That's an interesting situation. Colin Wright in the middle there, and to his right and our left was, of course, James Hayden, who is courtesy of the team doctor, sitting this one out here at Thruxton at the moment. It's an awkward situation they find themselves in. The trouble is with Lavia, he's so damn good. When you bring him in as a sub and he scores a shed load of points as he did at Brands Hatch and another shed load here at Thruxton, what do? You can't suddenly stop him. He might be the only man in the team that's going to win the championship at the end of the year.
As I said before this meeting, he could have gone away from here as championship leader, and then that would be a dilemma for the Airways Ducati team.
Well, I think it's a dilemma at any circumstances when the sub is the quickest man in the racing at the moment. And of course, we have to consider Leon Haslam had a big off yesterday as well and hurt his other wrist. He hurt one wrist at Brands Hatch in that massive high side that didn't result in a crash, but snapped a slightly damaged wrist from last year. Forced it in the direction he didn't want to go in. And yesterday they were picking the bits of grass out of the bike after he had an off yesterday too.
A bit further down the field there, Tommy Hill now up to 10th place, Sean Emmett's teammate. Kieran Crack, brilliant ride for him in the Hydrex Honda in 11th. James Buckingham still in 12th. The best privateer by a mile, and John Reynolds now up to 13th on the other Rizzler Suzuki.
Yeah, another real brave ride from John Reynolds. He don't like this place anyway. It is a very, very difficult track. I mean, I have to say, unless you've raced a motorcycle around here or even been around this place on a track day, those 3 or 4 right-handers at the top end of the track, you are just gritting your teeth, holding on with the rear end spinning away over the bumps. It is a nightmare place to get right.
It is a hideous fairground ride just waiting to go wrong, and every rider knows that.
Well, John Reynolds, of course, if you remember going back to the Chris Walker John Reynolds battles, Chris Walker tripped him up and he took to the grass at something like 130 mile an hour over the back there. I seem to remember a few years ago.
Just on the exit of Village, I believe that was. It's a bit of a jinx circuit for John Reynolds, let's face it.
Well, but being the consummate professional that he is, he's got to grit his teeth, as we've already spoken about. He's in 13th place, which scores him some points. But you've got to say, Ryoichi Kiyanari, if he scores another double today, that'll be 100 points, and that is a considerable margin to be going into round 3 at Mallory Park. 3 very difficult tracks to start the year off with. Indy Circuit at Brands Hatch, this one at Thruxton, and then Mallory Park, of course, round 3. This is your race leader, HM Plant Honda, being ridden again immaculately by Ryoichi Kiyanari.
Ryoichi Kiyanari was very average last year at the Brands Indy Circuit. He dominated there this year. He also struggled here at Thruxton last year. He's taking off again. It's incredible. Last year at Mallory, which is the next round, he was actually quite good. So you just got to think he's going to go to Mallory confident and going to go to Mallory thinking about winning more races.
Remember, this guy's taken a bit of a beating yesterday in qualifying. Slipped off at Allard Corner. Away, looks over his shoulder, lights up the rear end. I just think he's such a natural rider.
He's just loving it. He's just enjoying it. He's so happy. He's looking around there sideways, so at one with that bike.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like the extension of his arm, isn't it, at the moment? It's just working.
Absolutely everything. He's just, that bike just looks like it's been hand-built for him, as it probably has been.
And yeah, indeed. 8.4 seconds in front of his teammate now, Kiyanari. He's not just leading, he's rubbing Michael Rutter's nose in it.
It's ridiculous. I can't believe how quick that guy is going.
Fastest lap, still Lavia on lap 4 though. They haven't gone any quicker than that lap time of 1 minute 15.699, I think it is. His time 1 minute 15.889. So I think that is a new lap record perhaps, as far as he's concerned.
Yes.
Must be a new lap record.
15.8 is Stevie Slop's lap record.
So his lap record has gone. Sadly, Steve will be looking down on us, and well, take a minute to think of Stevie Hislop as we look at Kiyanari. In fact, it's not a bad analogy looking at these two.
Immaculate style, very much like Steve.
Final lap. While we have that thought, we're at the complex of Campbell and Cobb. A lot of famous names around this racetrack. Next one, of course, is Seagrave. I remember watching a programme on Seagrave. Didn't know anything about the car driver until, I wonder why they called that corner that. You know, it's amazing what you can learn even at my age. Coming up towards Noble, the left-hand kink, and then on to Goodwood, which runs into Village, which runs into Church, which runs into trouble if you don't get it right. And then you're on to Woodham Hill, which of course is the long left kink towards the chicane that is the club chicane, and that's one of the Gentin racing motorcycles. So Dean Ellison perhaps, or is it Gareth Glynn?
That is Dean Ellison.
It is Gareth Glynn actually.
Yeah, on Dean Ellison, number 15.
Yeah, it's on the cup bike. So Dean Ellison a little bit further forward. He won't be lapped by Ryoichi Kiyanari. Kiyanari comes through the club chicane for the last time in the opening race here at Thruxton. What a dominant performance, as he had at Brands Hatch. Adrian Gorst on the right of your picture there. Originally looked after Colin Edwards and their campaign in the World Superbike Championship. Neil Tuxworth, happy birthday Neil, 53 today, sitting in the middle of your picture. 1-2 for Kiyanari and Rutter. HM Plant rule Bennett's British Superbikes. Lavia finishes some 2.4 seconds down on Rutter at the end. What an effort from the Spaniard. 2.4 seconds after the amount of distance he was behind Rutter on the opening lap is incredible. Leon Haslam on the other Airwave Ducati in 4th place. So a good result for Lavia and Haslam and the Airwave Ducati. Sean Emmett eventually shoved out down to 5th place. Carl Harris in 6th place, Scott Smart 7th. Going on out there on this racetrack, Ryoichi Kiyanari, well, apart from him, he cleared off in the front by 9.6 seconds in the end from his teammate Michael Rutter. Gregorio Lavia fought his way through from a bad start from the second row of the grid, along with his teammate Leon Haslam there. They finished 3rd and 4th. Sean Emmett eventually slipping down to 5th. He really is not going to be happy with it, but it was a good ride nonetheless. Carl Harris, likewise, he slipped down the order to 6th place. Scott Smart moving up steadily, both in his confidence on the Rizla Suzuki and in his position here, of course, at Thruxton at the moment. Dean Thomas was there in 8th place. Now then, looking at Glenn Richards, Dean Thomas's teammate, 9th. Tommy Hill moving up through the order. James Buckingham, the best of the Superbike Cup boys. Gary Mason, Steve Plater. Look at the names James Buckingham had behind him. Gary Mason on this Stobbart Honda. Steve Plater on the Sendo Kawasaki. John Reynolds, well, we know why he's there, on the Rizla Suzuki in 14th place. And the last of the point scorers in the big champ. We can tell you what happened with Jeremy McWilliams. Oh, that's coming out of the chicane. So obviously he's got it lit up on the way out of the chicane. Now, at that particular position, you wouldn't say that he